You can study the different holy offices that are on my chart, and you can go into McLuhan. You'll find that very interesting, fascinating, and the whole world. But you can go to the LaRouche Quadrant, and that's a whole other world, very different from McLuhan, different kind of thinking. And if you pay attention to reading LaRouche, you'll find it quite interesting, quite fascinating. Well, that's what's happened to Rox. She has a couple of LaRouche books, so she started reading them, and she just can't stop talking about LaRouche scenarios. So we have to record that.
Yes, I was laughing the other day when I was biking because I was thinking, well, before we were into Zappa, now we're into Zappa and LaRouche.
Yes.
Like, I almost be pissed off.
Not
we have to come back,
Yes. This is another way to get Ion to give up this boycott of talking to the public, because it is getting out of control here.
No, the thing is, I find it really fascinating that what we're doing is going into your chart.
Yes.
Into different areas, and we are abusing Frank Zappa to go into these different areas of what you explain in your chart.
That's right.
And
it sounds like you said abusing. We're using Frank Zappa, right?
Yes, I'm joking.
Oh, did you say abusing? You did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
No, but actually, as we do this, I actually find Frank Zappa even more amazing than before.
Yeah.
I mean, his music is really impressive, but when we see the situation as it is now, we got into a little introduction last time.
Yes.
But the situation of what I see as an opium war, which now Mexico is producing, growing opium and producing all types of chemical drugs and heroin, and America is the biggest consumer in the world. It's really an opium war.
Right. I liked your point you made the other day that you notice when your lousy, stupid president, very bad president, you've always told me, went to England last year and he was treated like royalty by the Queen, by the Parliament, by everybody, red carpet treatment, like he's a great, great politician. And you're thinking how disgusting that was back then. And then you see that they don't do anything with Trump, hardly anything. That's where you see the LaRouche ideal, or the LaRouche point.
No, that was a real clear point to me that Enrique Peña Nieto is an agent of this.
Say that name again. You say it a bit fast. Say his name. What is it?
He's like an agent working for what LaRouche called the Dope Inc.
Yes.
This corporation controlling this big business that produces billions.
Yes.
And of course, it's not the Mexican government.
No.
They're working for them. So that's really clear that the most stupid president is really treated like he had a banquet in Buckingham and he was taken in these carriages and and Trump is sort of not really
acknowledged,
taken care of. So that shows a lot. And the fact that the press is completely against Trump, I think is actually a good sign.
They're saying, there's another article in the Washington Post today, I just went to drudge for a minute and saw it, and they're saying that he's more insane in the White House, more crazy talk about how he's out of control, he's in a frenzy, and we say they're always going in cycles.
Well, I mean, one can understand that when one sees if the whole paradigm is going to change, the financial system, the world politics, and this type of mafia business. I mean, there are many fractions that are in power have a lot of power that are controlling media, this trafficking of drugs, people, weapons, and of course, they cannot let go so easily. That's the problem. What we see in Mexico is like, we don't know really how these fractions are going to react and how this transition is going to happen.
Which happens in December, right?
Yeah. But I can understand why. Now I can understand why Trump wants to build the wall, because LaRouche was already talking a long time ago. He saw the same development in Latin America as in Africa.
Yeah.
That these corporations were taking over the mining.
Yeah.
And then some Chinese banks got into Latin America, and those banks are the ones that wash the money coming from all this trafficking of different things.
Right, from Hong Kong. The Hong Kong
yes,
bank.
and they, LaRouche was already saying, you'll see, if this bank is there, it means there is going to be drug problems.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed because it's like, wow.
Yeah, you're reading something 40 years ago where he's predicting that in Dope Inc., right?
This was from There Are No Limits to Growth.
Yeah, that's 1983. Okay. All right, that's 35
because at that time, around that late, after that, the banks in Mexico were privatized, and we have to save the banks. And we start seeing the whole process that also took place in Colombia.
Yeah.
Now in Mexico, and it's really amazing how LaRouche does his metanoias.
Yeah.
You know, the retracing, that you find another Latin word for that.
Yeah, anaerognosis. Let's see, I can bring up my quote. I can read it to you.
And actually, now I think we're retracing things, because I was always saying we have to erase what we know.
Yeah.
And yes, when I do this, it's actually like erasing what I thought was history, what I thought was science, what I thought was this and that.
Wait, you thought you were erasing it?
Yes, like what you think you know.
Yes.
Like an example. My father is in the army, and he was always watching TV programs, movies, documentaries about the Second World War.
Yeah.
And Hitler. And it's like, I always wonder, why do they show so much
Hitler?
Yeah, so much about everything. And Sergio Banovich wrote this book about the printing press and how the printed money is really taking us to a really bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
And the book is called Hitler and like the print and press of money, or something, in French. And to write it, he read like 200 books on Hitler and saw a lot of documentaries, a lot of movies, a lot of all these things. And like LaRouche, she realized everything is so manipulated, because actually, according to LaRouche, this big corporation wanted to divide, and they don't want any country to get real strong.
Yeah.
So they planned with a lot of years in advance a war in Europe to make these countries weak.
Yeah.
And they create problems so that they oppose and they fight among each other.
Yeah.
Like France and Germany, Italy, Japan, and Russia. Yeah. And they thought the war was going to be shorter. They actually created a lot of weird cults.
Yeah.
And secret societies, like the Police Society and the Theosophists.
What's the second one? What's the second one?
The Theosophists, Elena Blavatsky.
Oh, the Theosophists. Yes, Theosophy.
Theosophists.
Yes.
And it's really weird. The people that have studied the whole thing in depth, they see that the British aristocracy were actually behind all those weird cults like the Tulip Society.
Let me add something. You might notice this. Before a war starts, France and Germany and Russia start working together. I think that was happening before World War I and before World War II. When France, Germany, and Russia start cooperating economically, Britain gets nervous, at least the financial elite in the city of London, and they have to start a war. You know what I mean? To get France, Germany, and Russia fighting.
Yes, I mean, it's something really impressive how from the Weimar Republic and this extreme inflation that was taking place.
Yeah.
Like Pierre Jovanovic says, aristocratic women in Germany had to be like prostitutes they will go to little towns near Berlin and sell themselves to get some eggs.
Yeah.
You know, like it was extreme that even the rich had to do that.
Right, that'd be in the late 20s.
Yeah,
and mid-20s.
He compares the situation of Germany at the time with what's going on in the economy now. It's very similar, the whole process of what's happening. So that's why he got into Hitler, to understand how that happened.
Right.
And then it was actually programmed and financed by these very rich aristocratic British families, and they actually thought the war was going to be shorter.
Yep.
And Hitler was sort of coming into his power, and he almost even won the war. But from that situation of the Weimar Republic to what they achieved, you know, this extreme progress in less than 10 years, they were like the strongest country. Yeah. It's really fascinating. Many aspects of what was going on there, from the official side and the hidden ground. Yeah. You know, the mystery landscape.
Yes. And so, the bankers were, and the Bush family's parents were in there funding Hitler against Russia, or just basically dividing Germany between France and Russia.
Yes, and one can think, what does that has to do with Frank Zappa? But it's like, that's why I say I'm really impressed by Frank Zappa, because at the time where everybody was suffering the effects of the propaganda.
What? The 60s in Zappa, or you back?
Well, you know, these aristocratic groups created a lot of cults. Yeah. Because in order to control the population, they think it is easier to control the people when they are afraid, when they're like desperate and pessimists.
Yeah, they call it austerity conditions.
they create this big economic crisis in the countries. They can manipulate the economy to create this desperate situation, state of mind. And then they create weird cults because then people is desperate and they believe something. They need to believe in something too. Some power is going to help them or something. And they get into weird cults, and they also start taking some substances to escape this extreme bad reality they're living in. And
well, let me mention Zappa. In the Bob Marshall interview with Zappa done in October 1988, he brings up in the interview his present concern, which were the drug cartels that were starting to surface in Latin America that were feeding the poor. You know, the digital virtual economy of the 70s and 80s had made countries poor all over the world, and so then drug companies got the cash flow, and then they were propping up the poor in the ghettos. But the very thing that LaRouche was on about, well, almost 10 years before Zappa, but definitely in the 80s, when they arrested LaRouche and put him in jail, remember he's in jail for 5 years, 89 to 94, Zappa was saying the same concern. He says, these drug cartels are going to become a real problem.
Yes, I can give the example of Mexico in Sinaloa in the north. There is a man who became a saint, not officially, but the people saw him as a saint because he was like the leader of the drug cartel in Sinaloa. His name was Valverde. And in order to wash drug money, he will build schools and hospitals and businesses. And people thought, oh, he's so good, he's helping us. Because they have to invest the money they have in something, and they wash it, and then people perceive it as a good thing. And when he died, he is still... There is a cult around him as a saint.
Now, you heard about this as you were a young girl?
Yes, it's known. There is also a lot of Satanism and the cult of the Santa Muerte.
Satan
the
worship.
dead.
Satan, yes.
Yeah.
The cult of the dead. Yeah, we've seen pictures of that.
Yeah, one thing is the tradition of the dead, like honoring the ancestors.
Yeah.
And then there is like a degeneration of that, in which the Santa Muerte, like it's like a saint, and there is a cult around it, and masses, and very weird. And most of the people into that cult are like very, very poor people and people that are involved in some bad situations like stealing and trafficking and all these types of things, because they think the dead is going to protect them from dying. But the cult is like this. If they have to offer something to the dead, and if they don't do it, she's going to make something very bad.
Right.
So it's like...
Well, you know, you talk about this drug dealer saint building schools and hospitals. Ian says that we're going to start a new civilization, but we're not building hospitals. We're providing the eye cell, a simple little thing you can buy, some substance, and your body becomes very strong. So we're doing a different kind of hospital, different kind of classroom. Our classroom is on the air, I guess, with Ion. And whatever else they come up with, we're doing it without hardware. You know, these drug dealer saints, they build hardware hospitals, hardware schools. They're all crummy, lousy hospitals, lousy schools. And the people don't know that, though. So they think he's offered stuff. But even what they do in terms of public works is shoddy and inferior compared to what we do.
Yes, and then they also have like different types of codes, like these codes for the people, and many secret societies in which, in order to get initiated, you have to do bad things that are recorded, and then they can use that information against you.
Yeah.
You cannot say anything, and you work for them and all these things. They can manipulate you and make you do anything they want.
Yeah, you're blackmailed.
Yeah, and that's why, for example, in Mexico, the cartels use a lot of satanism.
Yeah.
Like, in order to get into their group, they demand very bad things. Like you kill somebody in your family, or you do you eat.
You have to do that to get
human meat and drink blood and stuff like that. Really.
Yeah, ridiculous. And you're saying you have to do that to get some bread or soup.
No, to get in those cartels.
Right, but you get in the cartel because you need the meager income.
Yes, first there is a big crisis created. People are desperate, and so there's also a lot of propaganda, showing these cartel people as, like in the hip hop.
Yeah.
In America they use hip hop. In Mexico they use something called bandas.
Yeah.
It's a type of music that they make these gangsters look like glamorous, cool, intelligent. They're making money very fast, and so the younger generations want to be like that, and they think it's the only solution. There is no point in studying, having a job, and whatever it's like.
Yeah, don't go to university.
They want to do the cartels. They want to join the cartels, and they're ready to do whatever to be part of those aggregators. Yeah. And but the thing is, one of the things that creates a lot of violence is people think they can now grow their own stuff and make their own labs and sell their own drugs. Of course not. It's like if you're a self-entrepreneur, you are eliminated
pretty quickly.
There's no way. Yeah, the cartels control all aspects of the business, and actually LaRouche says it's all control in Asia, all these banks in Asia, that they tell the people anywhere how much to grow, how much to produce, because they want to control, to keep the prices in a certain level. They don't want a lot of overproduction, and it's really like a corporation.
Now,
planning.
Now did you say planning?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you were in the nightclub world in the 90s in Mexico City. Would this kind of thinking come into your thoughts about what was happening in the music scene, or is it before bandas?
No, there were areas where they were starting to do that in the north, like in Sinaloa.
In Monterrey? Is that the north?
Sinaloa.
What's that?
Sinaloa is on the side of the Pacific.
Oh, okay. Like near Baja.
Yeah. But Baja is this little peninsula, peninsula, and Sinaloa is on the land.
So you knew about bandas back then in the 90s?
Yes, but my parents always prohibited that we listen to such music or culture.
And you would say they were correct. When you're in the LaRouche quadrant, they were good LaRouches.
Yes, because some of the music is actually really good. There is a very famous band called Los Tigres del Norte.
Mm-hmm.
And they became famous in the 70s with a song about a couple that takes a lot of drugs in the wheels of a car into America.
Yeah.
But the woman is jealous, and she tells the police, and then she gets everything, the money, the drugs, and she disappears. And it was everywhere. You could hear that song everywhere. It's called Camelia La Tejana. And maybe I should send you the link.
Yeah.
And the music is really good. Everybody was singing it. Even me as a child, because I will listen it in the market or in the street or somewhere, I will sing Salieron de San Isidro, procedentes de Tijuana, tenían las llantas del carro rellenas de hierba mala. And even now I sort of know the song.
Yeah, and it's about dope, the beginning of Dope Inc. in Mexico. That's what it's about.
Because that was how they started to produce only marijuana, and they start creating these cartels and these organizations and organizing all the finances and all this, they start setting the corporation, different aspects of the corporation. And now, it takes, that was in the 70s. Now, in the 70s, there was also guerrilla, like in Guerrero, where there was a lot of marijuana planting. There was also guerrillas. And, the thing with the 43 students that disappeared, some people that investigated that case, the thing is, these students were in Guerrero, in that area. And they wanted to go to a demonstration in Mexico City, so they sort of took some buses. They said they wanted them just to take them to the demonstration. They were not really like stealing them.
Right.
But the problem was that in those buses there was some heroin. So, the people from the cartel don't know if they're working for another cartel or what. So they were just disappeared and, I suppose, killed.
Yeah. 43 nice students.
Yeah. And they were studying to be teachers, and actually they just graduated, a generation of people that were studying. And so the thing is, the crime was never really solved. Why? Because, it involves the cartels, government, and
the police.
Yeah, so everybody then starts saying the organized crime is the government.
Well, let me just add this. In my garage, I've got hundreds of LaRouche's newspaper called The New Solidarity, then it was called The New Federalist. In my garage, it's from the 80s, talking about pre-headlines. Mexico's pre-Dope Inc. The thing you're talking about, LaRouche was writing about in his newspaper in the 80s. He had members of his cult or political organization in Mexico, very smart people who would write books. I have a book on Mexican politics. That was in their literature. That's what I was reading when you were a little kid running around studying Stravinsky.
Making mud cakes.
Mud cakes and listening to electronic music.
I was very impressed by Ion when he said that, because I really liked to make mud cakes when I was a child and put flowers on.
And he pointed that out? He knew you did that?
Once you asked what was I doing when I was a child, and he said he was making mud cakes. And I was really impressed, like, wow.
Yeah. But so there was no talk in your culture, in your band, about this dope, this change in the music industry in your nightclub world.
No, but I can understand. In Mexico, rock concerts were prohibited in '68, because of the student movement, and they wanted to avoid groups of young people getting together. Well, concerts were prohibited until the 80s.
And then they were allowed when the dope cartels got stronger.
Yes, because they need the market.
Yeah.
And, they sell you this thing of sex, drugs, and rock.
That's right.
They just need some exercise.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're dull dancing. They do very limited dancing. What I see is rubbing the chemical body.
Stretching.
Yeah, stretching. It's a stretching music. And my foster son's daughter demonstrated a new dance where they wiggle and sway. I don't remember the name of it. Say it again?
I don't know, flossing. Flossing is a thing that everybody's doing these days on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called, flossing. They sway, right? They twist and sway.
It's really
with their arms.
Yeah, it's like.
I know.
Yeah.
That's like aerobics. I think you hit something there, Roxy. I think we have a pattern we can use. You're not dancing. You're fucking exercising. Flossing is just aerobics. Really, that's they don't know much about their body. They don't use it much.
They need a little movement.
They think a little movement's all they need. It's like going on a diet, or it's like just doing something perfunctorily, showing up, saluting the Queen, singing national anthem. They're doing that with their body, showing that yes, I have a body. Yeah, I can move it. Do it for a few minutes, and then back to the black mirror.
Yeah, because like in Mexico City, the street culture they like cumbia, but they mix it. There is like the DJs are called sonideros.
Yeah.
And they do like a lot of reverb and effects, and they mix these cumbias.
What's that?
And
Electro-cumbia. Electro-cumbia.
No, it's just remix.
By the way, Roxy,
I don't think they call it electro-cumbia.
Yeah, that's a thing for sure. I mean, my main electronic scene is actually in Mexico. It's like San Diego, and it goes down into Baja, and everything that I go to is in Ensenada, and it's in Rosarito, and it's my friends own a record label that's all in the Baja. But it's not electro-cumbia. Electro-cumbia, I don't know, it's like electro-swing. They take swing music and they just take clips out of traditional swing music from the 1930s, and they just add beats to it and they repeat it, and it just goes, it's just it's digitizing the organic music of the TV body, I guess.
Yeah.
I think maybe electronic music is taking the music of the TV body and turning it into music of the chip body.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But I wouldn't do that. I would just keep doing variety as much as possible.
Yes, but this kid, usually the cumbia is dance with a couple, with a partner, but these kids dance alone.
Yeah.
And they sort of squat and dance very weird,
yes.
in that position, with their knees down,
Yeah, they squat. Yeah.
And they dance on their own, sort of weird.
Yeah, retarded frog-like activity.
Yeah, and their looks are really weird. They're really extreme haircuts and very exaggerated clothing.
Okay, so what does cumbia mean?
Cumbia is a rhythm.
Oh, okay. Rhythm. So they do cumbia. I see.
Yeah. You have salsa, you have samba. It's different types of rhythm.
So what were you saying, Rick?
It's like a bass of rhythm.
Right. So what do you say, Rick?
Oh, there was 2 points. Yeah, I listened to cumbia all the time when I was in Peru. It's huge. So all the parties that we went to in Peru while I was living in this tiny little town working on archaeology, we would be dancing to cumbia on mud floors inside mud houses, and everybody would dance with everybody. You'd dance with a grandma, a pregnant woman, whatever, little kids. It was a very communal atmosphere. Really great.
Yeah.
But I would say that let's look that you say that everybody now we dance alone, and so that would also fit to the chip body where previously we were on the TV body, and so we were hearing the same thing at the same time. So it was about partnership and sharing of experience in terms of perspective. And now that we create all of our individual chip bodies through the internet, then now we're just dancing on our own because that is our world. And so the music fits that. So that's what I'm saying. It's the music of the chip body. Electronic music is the music of the chip body, where it's your internal relationship to the music. You're looking at a DJ who's alone on the stage mixing their beats for you as a person, an individual. It's basically the musical translation of the tetrad and quadrophenia and where we are now.
But here in Berlin, swing is a trend. Everybody's learning how to dance swing, and it's fun. And you dance the old school way with the partner, and it's like rock and roll sort of.
Minimal electronic music is big in Berlin too. Like it's like a lot of the great DJs are all German. Great DJs is a statement of people who appreciate the music. But,
yes, but, all these environments are linked to substances to create markets for all those things. So I like electronic music, but I don't like the environment. I don't engage anymore.
Yeah, but I guess I'm not really telling you guys this stuff for you to jump on board and get a ticket to the ship. I'm just talking about it as an example. By no means do I be
I'm just
you don't like electronic music? Yeah, exactly. Well,
I love electronic music.
I know the electronic music. I made my living.
I hate electronic music.
Yes, they're all praising what she did, and she hates to hear anything about it.
No. I love electronic music. I love technology.
Oh, okay, you're changing.
No, I'm just joking. But
in other words, when you said you didn't like it, you were joking.
Yes, but I don't.
You don't go into the.
I don't like to play in bands and in clubs and all these environments because I know that behind that is actually the idea of creating markets for drugs.
Yeah, doping.
So,
why is that a problem?
I want to engage music, but
he just asked you, why is that a problem about creating environments for drugs? Markets.
Because in Mexico it's destroying the society.
You got that right, Rick?
Yeah,
and in America too. And in Berlin.
But it always has, right? I was listening to some of Bob's recordings, about McLuhan, and he said that, they did more drugs in the 19th century as a whole than we do now, because it was just all being prescribed. That was just a thing that happened at that time. And so all of our perspectives now as to how things are changing is just your previous conception of what was good and what wasn't good, and then it's just a new way.
No. I was quoting Frank Negroni. I was quoting Frank Negroni on the drugs. We use more drugs today than ever.
I'm talking about my personal...
Yes, political stance. Political non-point of view.
I agree with Frank Zappa that I don't like drugs because of all the things that are connected to them.
Yeah. And
all the things that they provoke. There's a lot of violence and trafficking of people, weapons, many things that...
if I meet someone who's happy,
I don't want to promote...
They're on drugs. If you meet someone who's happy, they're on drugs, some kind of medication.
And I disagree with Zappa because he thought the solution would be to legalize drugs, but actually, according to LaRouche, that's what they want. They want to make it normal,
right?
So that everybody gets their soma.
I essentially, though, it's just re-legalizing what was legal before it became illegal. Cocaine used to be prescribed by doctors. Amphetamines used to be prescribed by doctors in the 1950s to help housewives lose weight. Since then,
well, doctors aren't describing it. It's being distributed. It's being distributed.
There is still a lot of opiates being prescribed, and even to school children. Like everybody's now getting some prescription. But I think it is really important, it is really crucial that our physical body is healthy in order to the environment to be programmed in the right way. It's like a collateral effect of health.
All right, I got to stop there. I got to play the second recordings, an hour and 45 minutes. So if you're around and almost 2 hours.
I mean, that's the conclusion, and that's why the temple is the human body, like the pattern, the blueprint for the temple is the human body. And
people abuse drugs. They don't know how to use it as a sacrament. So they get unhealthy. Okay, I got to go and play this. Okay, we can be done by 1.
No, but I would like to add this because, like in Mexico, in the traditional cultures, there are these plants like peyote and mushrooms that are used for learning or for healing. It's not for amusement.
Right.
And
but that's it. We got the point, Roxy. I got to start this, or I won't get the deadline. So listen to Ion.
So don't do it. Be a Sabbatist. Be a part of the religion. Don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Ion says everything in life is about the fastest past your bliss, right?
That's right.
So
that's right. We don't agree with Ion. Ion's an interloper.
But don't push your bliss on other people.
Okay, I'm muting you guys. I'm muting.
Your bliss is happiness and health.
Yes, that's right. I'm muting everybody. Rick, we'll talk on Tuesday or in 2 hours. Here we go. Goodbye.